Everyone, you guys haven't had a cup of tea. That's why you're not responding. So can someone help them? I'm just how many sugars? Yeah, yeah. It's cold outside, so I can understand they're still warming up. Hi everyone, welcome to Manifest. Hi Mary. When I'm here, you're not here, but today, somehow, yeah. Yeah, welcome to Manifest. Thank you for taking time off your Wednesday evening to come and be with us today. We are so grateful. Thank you, Dan, for keeping your word. And thank you, Johanna, for the cake. It was lovely. Um, yeah, so thank you guys for coming. I think we still have a few more people coming in, but that's fine. I'm actually surprised. I was expecting the ratio of men to be much lower today because there's a football match, a high stakes football match going on. So for all the men who showed up today, congratulations. Thank you for resisting the temptation, you know. But yeah, and so next Wednesday also for the ladies, Valentine's, we hope you don't disappear on us. We're gonna be here. But yeah, let's get into it. I think we're gonna have one announcement. If you're new, don't worry. You'll get to understand who we are as we continue in the course of the discussions. So, are you able to see this? Yeah, should you dim the lights? It says Canvas of Love. So next week we're gonna have a special event on Wednesday, the 14th. That's Valentine's. Very unique, very different. Okay, and it says expressing love through art. And so I want to encourage you, if you, it doesn't matter if you're single or in a relationship, make your way here. But it's fast come, fast service. We don't have that much space, as you can see, and we will need to have like desks and things. So you need to tell us early if you'll be coming or if you're bringing someone. But yeah, we're going to have a very unique event tomorrow. Next week. I'm so excited. Yeah, next week on Wednesday from 7 to 9. So yeah, if you're available, come. You'll see the ad on our Instagram and and all the other social media platforms that we usually communicate. So I encourage you to sign up on Eventbrite and let us know. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, either through the number, the WhatsApp, any way. Personally, you can ask any questions towards the end of the event. It's going to be on Wednesday, February 14th, 7 p.m. right here. It's free, no charges, but it's going to be very unique. It's like nothing we've done before. So please come and have a nice evening with us, okay? Great. I think we can move on. This is the 17th session that we're having for Manifest. So clap for us. 17 sessions, and we're so grateful that we have the privilege to connect with you, people from really every part of the world, and it's amazing. It's amazing to have conversations with you. It's amazing to grow with you, to get to know you more. And so we just want to say thank you for being a part of us every Wednesday. So for Manifest, we meet here every Wednesday from 7 to 9, okay? 7 to 7:30 is the tea time, and then we actually start 7:30 and end around 8:30, and then we have time for more conversations between 8:30 and 9. And this is a place, it's a place of love, it's a place of hope, it's a place of faith. You can ask those who've been attending for a good few weeks. And I do encourage you that, or rather I want to tell you that you're not wasting your time being here, because the things that we are discussing are, I would say, highly beneficial, okay? And we allow for divergent views. If you have opinions, we are there to discuss and to engage you, so we won't brush you off and say, oh, shut up with that nonsense. No, we'll talk about it, and we want to hear what you think as well. So today, before we get there, so I was, last week we talked about doing that one thing. And I really, really enjoyed that session. In fact, I really wanted us to continue that conversation into the outcome of doing that one thing, which we discussed last week, which is dwelling, in case you forgot. But then, for some reason, I felt impressed on my heart to speak about what we're going to talk about here. Last week's session was more expository, where we picked a certain reading and we kind of allowed it to lead us through other passages until we were able to distill a meaning. Today is going to be different. It's going to be more on the application side of things. So more like, okay, it's more topic based. Let's call it application. Yeah, let's just call it that. That's the best way I can think about. I can speak about it. And yeah, so it's almost gonna be like a lesson, okay? So we're gonna be doing a lot of readings. Didn't have enough space on the PowerPoint to put everything there, but if you're interested, you can take notes of the passages and you can go and read, okay? But yeah, I'm gonna try and go through it quickly because remember next Wednesday we'll be having a different kind of activity that won't allow us to sit and share like this. And because I didn't want to give you half one side of the coin and then come back next week, but one you've already forgotten, I'm trying to put everything together so that by the time we leave this evening, then we have, one body of knowledge concerning what we're talking about today. So the title, as you can see, is Think About It, okay? Think about it. We'll see why that's the title. But some of the things, or if I should ask you a question, what's the most radical and effective way that you can transform someone? Huh? By force? Okay. Interesting. Okay. By love. Okay. I love that. Persuading. Oh. Manipulation. Okay. What else? Influence. Okay, I like that word better. You can see the different personality types, right? But basically, all you guys are what you guys are targeting, except the guy who said force, you're targeting the mind, right? You're seeking to bring change to an individual, but through the gate of the mind. So the reason I disagree with force is because force, you can force someone into a situation physically, but you cannot force them to agree with you. You can intimidate them, but as soon as you're out of the picture, then they will revert. Do you understand? So force is limited in that it's physical. You'll learn that things that are physical are limited. Okay, and even the people who try to use force, they don't use it alone, they use it in conjunction with something else to get into your head. Okay, so yeah, the most radical way to change or transform someone is through the mind. Okay, it's a very interesting, is it an organ? Can you touch the mind? That's the brain, okay? What is the mind, right? Anyway, we're not going to go into that. I want us to stay, those are some, rabbit holes. What's the mind? Let's just stay on track. But the truth is, a change in the way that you think can transform your life, right? Literally, you could be on one path today, and if you absorb certain ideas, it can change you forever. Both for good and for bad, right? That's how we have certain individuals maybe being brainwashed into joining certain sects or organizations and doing things that they believe are correct, okay? And their lives have been radically transformed because of ideologies that they have been fed and that they have believed. So the mind is powerful. The mind is powerful. Propaganda campaigns that were spread in different civilizations, they were able to achieve so much because they changed the way the people thought, right? Whether for good or for bad. So the mind is very important. The mind is very powerful. And I want us to take something here from the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 2, concerning the mind. And I want us to see how best we can address this issue of how we think. And so maybe let me just disclose that in this session we're going to look at two major parts. One is 5 common types of thinking that hold us back. Okay. Now I'm not saying these are the only types of thinking that exist, but these are the ones that were most interesting to me. Okay. And I want to share with you. And then towards the end of the session, we're going to look at 2 ways that we can actually maybe not fall for those types of thinking. Okay. Are we together? So that's going to be the layout of the session today. And so Romans 12:2 is going to give us a foundation to see what or how our mind works, or even how God interacts with our mind to bring change, right? Because I think many people, we put things in boxes not knowing that they are connected, right? They are very, very connected. Your faith, your mental health, your social interactions, you understand? All these things are connected. They are not separate. God is not in a box and then everything else around you is in another box. Things are connected. So it says this in Romans 12:2. Hi, Barry. It says this. It says, do not copy the behavior and customs of this world. Don't copy. Don't emulate. Don't take after. Don't learn. But it says, but listen, this is so key. It says, but let God transform you. Okay. Let God transform you. I'll tell you why that's important. It says, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way that you think. So, many people, especially at the beginning of the year, they come up with goals of how they're gonna, change and become something else or someone better, right? And most of these decisions are based on the power of will, your ability to make a decision and to stick to it, okay? Now, many times also people are disappointed because they realize that sometimes their will is not good enough to bring about the changes that they want to experience, okay? But I love this scripture because it says, yes, God does transform us, but not with a magic wand, but rather with the way that we think. It says here, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. By changing the way you think. And it says, then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Good, pleasing, and perfect. Many people don't even believe that we interact with God with our minds. We assume that God and our psychology or even God and science don't interact. But it's not true. It's not true. So yeah, your life can be transformed by how you think. And in fact, they say that you are a sum total of the 5 most dominant thoughts in your mind at any given time. So whatever you think about, because of course there's themes in your thoughts, but whatever you think the most about actually describes who you are. You are not different from your thoughts. Okay? So when it says in Proverbs 23 verse 7, it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So the way that you think is the way that you are. If you cannot claim to think negative thoughts and then say that you're a positive person. You understand? Just the same way you cannot claim to think positive thoughts and then claim that you're a negative person. There is a direct correlation between the thoughts that you have and the person that you are. And the reason why transformation at the beginning of the year doesn't work for most people is because they focus so much not on the thoughts they think, but rather on the outcome, rather who they are. Okay, so if you think you're rude, you focus on let me change my rudeness as opposed to let me change the thoughts that I think that cause me to be rude. A Chinese proverb by a guy called Lao Tzu says this. He says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. You can read with me if you can see. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. It says, watch your character, it becomes your destiny. But where did it start from? It started in the thought. So it kind of sets off a butterfly effect, domino effect, chain reaction. That one thought can change the world, so to speak. Because if people's destinies, the building block of your destiny is one, the thoughts that you think, then you cannot afford to neglect what you think about. And sometimes we are very careless with what goes through our minds because, one, no one sees what you're thinking. Okay? Even if I look at you so intently, I cannot tell what you're thinking. Some of you may be thinking about the food that's in the fridge, even though you're nodding seriously, or work, or checking your phone, I cannot tell what you're thinking about. And, it kind of gives you, that's the danger. It gives you the liberty to be yourself in your mind, even though you can pretend before people. Okay, so that's why your thoughts are not different from who you are. You're not different from who you are. Proverbs 23:7, he says, "For as he thinks within himself, so he is." So, if you're asking yourself, who am I? Just write down your thoughts. And it will tell you who you are, or at least give you insight into the kind of person that you are. Okay? So thoughts are important. That's what we're trying to say. Thoughts are important. Abraham Lincoln said something interesting. He said, most people are as happy as they make up their minds. Speaking, how last week we talked about how happy are you, right? And many people feel like happiness is a feeling that comes and goes. But this guy said that you are as happy as you make up your mind to be. So you can actually decide to be happy. Yeah, exactly. Many of the things that have been presented by Hollywood as emotions are more than emotions. They're actually states of being, okay? Like we just addressed love in the initial sessions, right? They are states of being. They are not just feelings that come and go, okay? So let's look at the problem here, or what we're trying to look at. It says in James chapter 1 verse 8 something very interesting. It says, "But let him ask in faith with no doubting." It says, "For he who doubts is like a wave of sea driven and tossed by the wind." It says, let he is anyone, whoever chooses to ask anything of God, he says, let him ask without doubting. Okay? So there are times that people ask, but when they ask, they're doubting, or they are not sure, or they are not certain. I've come across this many times, especially when someone maybe is looking for a new opportunity, a job, and they say something like, "Oh, I really want that job," but then they would go like, "I don't know if I can, I don't know if I'll make it." So they're expressing one part of them that they want it, but then in the same breath, they're also expressing doubt, right? And fear, exactly, because you'll see that fear, doubt, worry are all cousins, right? So that person, the scriptures have a very interesting term for that, and it says that let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. Not because God is mean. No, it actually has nothing to do with God's character. It has a lot to do with the state of your mind, because it says he is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. What does that mean? A double-minded person is a person whose thoughts are going in different directions. So one day you want to go, and another day you want to go the opposite side. Today you want it, tomorrow you don't want it. And you live in this kind of oscillation that it's even hard to place you. Can you imagine Amazon trying to deliver a package to someone who moves every day? Do you understand? And then that person goes and leaves a negative review. That's what we do. Because it's like we want it, but we don't want it. But it's not that we don't want it, it's that we've not learned to address our thoughts. Do you understand? Okay? So today I want you to think about it. I want you to think about how you think. Think about how you think. Okay? Yeah, let's go to the next one. I'm going to try and just go quickly. Good. I found this to be more efficient. So, 5 common types of thinking that hold you back. Now listen, this is not exhaustive. You might have more. but these are the ones. These are the ones I chose to focus on. Okay, but you know what? I found that in this whole list, even me myself, as I was examining myself, I found that there are areas that I need to work on. Do you understand? Here, the reason I like Manifest so much is because we get to be genuine and open and honest about who we are. So it's not that the person who's standing here is exonerated from human experiences. Rather, it's the fact that we share what we experience that allows us to be who we are. Okay? So, number one, negative thinking. Okay? This could be everything because it's just wrong, right? But I'll tell you what I mean by negative thinking. So how you think has a physiological impact on your life, on your person, on your experiences. Okay? How you think. So that means a person with positive thoughts is more likely to have a positive life experience. A person with negative thoughts is more likely to have a negative life experience. Now, listen, I know there is a lot of information on the internet about this stuff. I know. Okay? I know, it's almost too much. But the basis of our approach is the scripture. Okay? And Christ. And you see an overlap because these are truths. Do you understand? A truth is a truth whether you are in Ireland or in China or in Mexico. The truth is the truth. Okay? But what I want you to see is, I want you to take attention or to take focus from yourself, okay? Because what many people don't understand or realize is that your willpower is actually limited. It is. It breaks sometimes, right? And I don't know one person who can say their will has never broken. So what happens then when your will is not good enough? What do? Do you stop living? Do you give up? No. So then, negative thinking. So this is a type of thinking that imagines the worst outcomes. You know? Worst case scenario. And it affects people differently. There are people who are more affected by it. There are people who are genuinely, and not because they are terrible people, but because they've not learned that they can address their thoughts. They tend to just see the worst in situations, see the worst in people, see the worst in opportunities, you know? And it's not even circumstantial. It's more like that kind of frame of mind is the lens through which you view life, okay? And so even whatever is good, you'll still be able to find a problem with it, okay? It's a mindset. You know, mindset is a setting of the mind. So you set your mind, and it sticks that way. So if you have a negative mindset, that means your mind is set to interpret things with a negative connotation. Okay? So, negative thinking bears these kinds of characteristics. Imagining the worst, seeing the worst. It also, to some certain degree, is very sensitive to imperfections. Okay? So, everything might be good, but if there is one little thing, then your attention will be drawn to that thing, and then it will make the whole experience unpleasant. Okay? Because you have this kind of mindset. And listen, people have this in different areas. Do you understand? You can have it at work or at school or when it comes to your family or when it comes to your relationships. You understand? So I'm not saying that, okay, each one of you take one. No. It manifests differently in our lives, right? But what I want you to recognize is that there is such a thing as negative thinking, a negative mindset. And it does affect, and it actually does hold you back because it robs you of the opportunity to see the beauty in life because you're so consumed with worst case scenarios, so consumed with imperfections. the mindset does not allow you to interact or to enjoy the life that God has given you freely. So it stands in the way. And because you're not conscious of the mindset, then you will always blame others for what you are experiencing. Okay? So that's negative thinking. It also usually comes with a lot of worry. Okay? I think we mentioned it somewhere there. Yeah. So people with a negative mindset, they are consumed. Listen, there's a difference between worrying and being consumed with worry. Okay, sometimes, yeah, a worrisome thought can come, and based on what you know, you can address it. Say, okay, I was worried, but I know who I am. God is in control, and the thought passes. But there are people who are in a state of continual worry. It doesn't stop, okay? And now that's a problem, okay? What is worry, okay? I like to define worry this way. That worry is an expression of faith in God's absence and lack of concern for you. In other words, you are so convinced that you are in this alone and no one else is going to help you. No one else cares for you. And so you take on the weight of the world on your shoulders. And so even an opportunity, you see you become a risk manager. Like every good thing that comes, you assess what else could go wrong. You understand? And it's you see, the thing with these mindsets is that they rob you of the best that life can give you. Do you understand? There is no amount of money that can change a negative mindset. There is no relationship that can fix a negative mindset. There is no career change. There is nowhere you'll go that will change a negative mindset. Do you understand? Because as a man thinketh, so is he. So whether you are here or you move, if you don't address the thoughts that you deal with or the way you interact with your thoughts, then you will just be changing, variables, but the constant will remain. Okay? Right? So, the Bible tells us in many, many places about how we can deal with worry and with negative thinking. Okay? I'm just going to read some of these things for you. And it says, for example, here, it says, be anxious for nothing. James, Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. The Message version says this: turn your worries into prayers. Whatever you can worry about, you can pray about. Do you understand? Because you see, the thing with worry is so funny. It takes up your time, your sleep, and then it leaves you the way you are. Like, do you understand? It doesn't, it adds no benefit. Like, there's no day you will worry and come out of the worrying session better. So it says, turn your worries into prayers. Recognize, I'm starting to worry. Okay, let me just verbalize this worry and say, Lord, I'm experiencing this and this is bugging me. Please help me. That's it. And you'll notice the difference, okay? That you get to a place where you are so stable, not like the double-minded, that it doesn't matter what comes, you will still be able to be, or have the presence of mind to remember that you are not on this earth alone. Because you are not. You understand? Right. It says again in John 14:27, Jesus speaking to the disciples, he says, peace I leave with you. And he says, peace I give you, not as the world gives, peace do I give you. You know, there's a peace that you experience at the sauna or after your nails have been done. There is that peace that comes. But he says, I give you peace not as the world gives it. Because that one goes away. You know, you're driving, someone cuts you off, the peace is gone. There is a peace that the world can offer that's temporary. But he says, you see, it's so interesting. I love Jesus. He says, peace I give you, not as the world gives do I give it to you. So he distinguishes. There is a peace that comes with, with going on vacation. You know? or finding, taking, there's a peace that comes with that. But he says, the peace that I give you is different, okay? And he says, let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Why? Because there's this peace that I'm giving you, okay? Right, so we are continuing, right? Another one. So you calibrate yourself. You see, out of 5, how many do you have? And then we'll give you a solution, right? There's another one here, very interesting, called psychic thinking. Okay? I'll explain. Don't worry about it. I'll explain what I mean by psychic thinking. This one, it affects people in different ways, but it's the kind of thought pattern that imagines wrongdoing, or you read into things, or someone says something to you and you're like, what did they really mean? You understand? You're always like, you're suspicious of people. You can't trust. She looked at me funny. You you become a psychic in that you have committed your life to reading people's minds. And it's such a waste of energy because most of the time you're wrong. Right? Most of the time you're wrong. And so you have an experience with someone and it ruins your day, yet the person has taken no thought of what happened. But you know your day is done. So this kind of thinking, psychic thinking, it says imaginary, reading into things, looking for hidden motives. That guy can't be a good guy. No. You can't, you see, it robs you of experiences. It even makes how you interact with God different because you're like, what does he want from me? As if there is something you can give. Do you understand? It really puts you, this is the Grinch. And you assume there's more to everything. I like my friend Tunji here because he's the most carefree guy, just forgets. And it helps. It helps with your mind. It helps with your life. You're not burdened with worrying about what people think about you, what they said about you, how they look at you. You become less self-conscious and more Christ-conscious. Because it's not about you anymore. Do you understand? So this kind of thinking is this one is insidious because it doesn't even feel like a sin. It doesn't feel wrong. You're just like, why did she look at me like that? Like, you're always on you're some kind of detective, always looking for clues, and it's dangerous. And you know what? I'll show you a story, actually, in the book of Samuel that shows how this kind of thinking affects even the most powerful people. Because it plays on your insecurities. You understand? So when that person is removed, you look like a crazy person. Like, oh, what happened? You understand? So 1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 6 to 10. Very interesting story of King Saul, okay, and David, who was not a king at the time. And it says this, I'm going to read it for you. It says, when they came home, you know the story of David and Goliath, right? Come on, guys. Famous story, right? 17-year-old boy kills giant with 5 stones. The whole country goes crazy, right? Huh? In short, it's like Katie Tyler's last fight. That one went over many people's heads. You understand? Yeah, okay, good. So it says, when they came home, as David was returning from slaying the Philistine, that is Goliath, the women came out from all the cities of Israel to meet King Saul. So they're coming back from battle, and all the women are coming out, right? And they do something. It says singing and dancing with tambourines, with joy, with musical instruments, because they're celebrating the fact that the Philistine has been killed. That's Goliath, okay? It says, and the dancing women sang and said, listen to the words. Women, watch your words, okay? Don't compare people. Don't break men's egos. Listen, he says, Saul has slain his thousands. It's a song they're singing. He says, Saul has slain his thousands. Saul is the king, okay? Saul is the king. David is 17 years old. But the women are singing in the street and they're saying, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. That statement was the start of many problems. Thousands versus 10,000. How can the women sing of him killing 10,000s and me thousands? So it says, so Saul became very angry. Was he angry because they had won the battle? No. Was he angry because he was the king? No. He says he became very angry, and this saying was displeasing to him. And therefore he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, but to me they have ascribed thousands. Now, what remains for him to have but the kingdom? In other words, he says, now that they've said that, he's going to become king. How does that one statement inform Saul that now David is going to become king? It was an insecurity. Do you understand? The women said nothing about David becoming king. They just said, he slew 10,000s and you slew thousands. And he's like, no. He must, what is left except for him to take my kingdom? And he says, from verse 9, he says, so Saul was suspicious of David from that day forward. Suspicious. I can't trust that guy. He wants to overthrow me. And you know what? David had no idea. It wasn't in his mind. In fact, he didn't even believe that he was able to kill Goliath because he knew he couldn't do it. So for Saul to think, man, this guy wants to overthrow me, and to assume, read David's mind, is like, David wants to take my kingdom. And he says from that day forward, he was suspicious. He started to track David. It's like, oh, the way he's moving, this guy wants to overthrow me. And that thing consumed him. And do you know, as the story continues, he actually commits suicide further down the line. Still with this very thought. Fighting or creating an enemy that doesn't exist and giving your life to fight yourself, or rather you're projecting your insecurities on someone else and then following them to kill them. Eventually, he's the one who died. Okay, I just wanted to tell you that because it's a very interesting story of someone who is in power, someone who's lacking nothing, but because they have this kind of thought, they are not confident, they are not secure, then they began to be suspicious and to read into everything, okay, and to imagine the worst, okay? So that's all right? Are we together? That one's my favorite one, okay? Psychic thinking. Well, 10 minutes? You're joking. You're lying. What kind of thinking is that? Okay, we have 3 more. I'm going to try to go quickly. There's one called, I didn't know how else to call it. Because I want to express something and sometimes, but drama queen thinking or over-analyzing, like you become so consumed with figuring out every last detail, okay? You understand? You become so consumed with figuring out every last detail until it's no longer worth it, but you don't realize, okay? So blowing things out of proportion, sensationalizing everything, becoming obsessive over things, okay? If something doesn't work out, like you feel like I'm done for, you make yourself be as happy or as sad as your last experience. You understand? It's like whatever experiences you have are a puppet master. If something goes wrong, you obsess over it. Like I said, some of us, we have this in different areas. So some people it could be you're a clean freak and this is your problem, right? It's not good to be a freak of any kind, right? So even, some things we have made to be, socially acceptable. But if something has power over you to control you, that it can spoil your mood because it hasn't happened, then you need to check that. Have thought. So the drama queen, the person who mostly it affects teenagers, right? Something small goes wrong and they feel like their life is over and they cannot get over it. You understand? This is a pitfall sometimes because what that means is that you're not conscious of the fact that God is able to help you, right? You are more consumed with what has gone wrong or the trouble before you than you are of God's ability to help you, okay? And it's a fleshly thinking. It's a carnal thinking. It never leads you to the right place. It never gets you to a place of peace. It will rob you of whatever joy that situation could have brought you. And Jesus addresses this in Matthew 6, chapter 34. I'm going to try to go quickly now because I have 10 minutes. He says this. He says, therefore, listen, take no thought for tomorrow. In other words, don't be so concerned about tomorrow. Why does he say that? He says, for tomorrow will take thought about the things of itself. In other words, every day has enough troubles. There is no need for you to take troubles from tomorrow and bring them today, or from yesterday and bring them today. Okay? He says, sufficient of the day is the trouble thereof. In other words, deal with things as they come. If something has not worked out, let it go. It's not the end of you. You understand? It's not the end of you. God is still on the throne. You're still alive. You're still breathing. The fact that you have energy to think or to worry shows you that there is still hope. You understand? So don't allow yourself to be consumed or to blow things out of proportions, to let yourself feel like, oh, the fact that this has happened, I'm done for, I'm finished. Don't obsess over negative occurrences, okay? You see, the world doesn't teach you this. They in fact, they encourage you to take this route, you know, to allow yourself to be consumed by these emotions. But it's a trap. Another one, self-deprecating thinking, okay? What does that mean? It's negative thinking about you, your accomplishments, okay? Who you are. You always put yourself down. There are people who are like this, okay? They always put themselves down. Always feel like they're unworthy. Always feel like they're not qualified. Always feel like they don't deserve it, okay? And they're not able to recognize their own good qualities or accomplishments. So someone might have done so much, but in their eyes, it's not enough. And so they're in some kind of rat race. They don't appreciate what they've done or what God has done for them. You understand? And it's very risky because, like I said, it robs you of the life that you should live. You can have money, you can have a family, but if you're not content within yourself, always putting yourself down, always looking at yourself as, oh, if this happened, I would have been in a much better situation. If this didn't happen, I'm just not happy with who I am. No, you need to stop that kind of thinking. You see, even if you take from God himself, if you read the story of creation, for everything that he made, what did he say? He said it was good. Do you understand? Learn from that. If you make cake, say it's good. Don't say, it's my first time. If it's not, don't say that. Oh, it's my first time. I was just trying. No. Those kinds of false humility, because it's not true humility if it's not true, is an indicator that you have this kind of mentality, self-deprecating. You always minimize your accomplishments. You minimize the things that you've been able to do. Okay, and there's a balance. I'm not saying you go on the other extreme end and now have hubris where you're so proud, but you should not minimize your value. And the problem with this is that you don't understand who you are. It's an identity issue. No amount of motivational speech will take you out of this kind of thinking. It's when you come to a knowledge and understanding of who you are in God. Do you understand? So learn from God. He says every time he makes something, he says it's good. He appreciates it. You understand? And in fact, when he made man, he said it is very good. Very good. So when you do something, when you come to manifest, say it is good. You understand? When you buy yourself a dress, say it is good. When you pass your exams, say it is good. Stop worrying about next semester, this semester. Appreciate. Do you understand? Don't rob yourself of that joy. And some people say what do you call it? Delayed gratification. But some of it is not true. Some of it is just you don't know how to appreciate yourself. Do you understand? You don't know how to appreciate yourself. So yeah. Philippians 1:6, which I forgot to put here. It says something like this. 2 minutes. I don't think so. Let's see. Oh man, 2 minutes. Let's see where we'll stop. But Philippians 1:6 says something like making the communication of your faith effectual. Okay? It says by acknowledging every good thing which is in you, which is in Christ. Acknowledging every good thing which is in you, which is in Christ. So you stand before the mirror, say, I'm beautiful, I'm blessed. Because you're acknowledging what is good that is in you, that is in. It's easier to look at yourself and say, look at that zit. I'll do it next week. But learn. Like I said, you can find a lot of, positive thing. But I'm telling you what the scripture says, that you ought to acknowledge every good thing which is in you, which is in Christ. It says, make the communication of your faith effectual. That's how you get yourself to believe. When you stand and say, I'm the head and not the tail. Do you understand? When you stand and say, no, I cannot be defeated because I have a God who's going to help me. Do you understand? This is what we're talking about. The next one, the last one, is emotionally driven thinking. Amen? Amen. Emotionally driven thinking. So some of us allow our thoughts to run on the track of our emotions. Your thoughts and emotions are not the same thing, but sometimes you can allow your thoughts to run on your emotions. Do you understand? So for example, you wake up feeling, ugly. You feel it, okay? But you don't stop there. Now you start to say, I really am ugly. You understand? It's a thought, it's a feeling, but then you add words to it, okay? It's like you affirm it by what you do, okay? And so we need to be careful of emotionally driven thinking because it's very, very dangerous. This often happens when we're not able to handle our negative emotions in a good way. So when a thought comes, it finds that emotions and it creates something that's not good, okay? And so for example, it often happens with negative experiences. Okay, so you had something bad happen to you in the past, and then you face in a similar situation, and instead of choosing to see the good that could come of it, you say, nothing's ever going to change. Do you understand? Where you project your past into your future. And so you live the same experience, even though you have the opportunity to choose differently. That's what emotionally driven thinking does. I like what it says in Isaiah 43, verse 18 to 19 concerning this. It says, but forget it all. He says, it is nothing compared to what I'm going to do. God speaking, he says, listen, whatever has happened, forget it all. And he says, because it is nothing compared to what I'm going to do for you. He says, I'm about to do something new. And he says, see, I have already begun. Then he asks you a question. Do you not see it? So many people don't see it. It's not that the work has not begun. It's not that God is not trying to help you or not at work. It's really a matter of perspective or mindset. Okay? And he says, do you not see it? He says, I will make a pathway through the wilderness, and I will create rivers in the dry wasteland. Okay, so we are done with the 5 sets of emotional things that we can experience. And I want you to assess your life and see, okay, where do I fall on that spectrum? Do I have this, that? But if I were to leave you there and tell you, okay, now go home, I've just I've just told you like all the problems that you have and given you no solution, right? Which is not good. And so I'm gonna borrow how many minutes? How many minutes you give me? 5? 4 minutes. I'll try. To take you through the solution, right? Because there is a solution. Otherwise, we are stuck in negative thinking and psychic thinking and overanalyzing, analysis paralysis, focusing on everything that's wrong and nothing that's good. Okay, so we can't end it that way. Just so that we can, we can preach what we teach or live what we preach. So listen, I'm going to try to go quickly. I believe there's actually no way in and of yourself to change how you think. Otherwise, you would have done it. Right? Otherwise, you'd have done it. Only God can change, but even when He's changing you, He will work through you to accomplish it. So the work will not take place outside of you. It will take place inside you. Okay, and that's why we read Romans 12. It says, do not copy the behavior and custom of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. It says, then you will learn to know God's will for your life, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. Now, the number one, there's 2 ways really I have. These are not all the ways, but the 2 ways that I think would benefit you in terms of addressing these kinds of negative thoughts. Number 1 is this. It says, diligently guard your thoughts. But I've not written guard as in G-U-A-R-D. I've written guard as in G-I-R-D, which means something completely different. And I want to explain that quickly with the help of this image. Do you see this guy? Right? You see this guy. What is he wearing? Okay, he's wearing something that's not pants or shorts. Okay? Now, what it means to guard up the loins of your mind. Back in those days, we all used to wear tunics, or not we all, but people used to wear tunics, right? And so if you want to engage in any kind of physical activity, the way to do it is to do what? Is to, wrap it. So you take it, you put it under your thighs, and you tie it here, and then it becomes like a short, and you can engage in any activity that you want to engage in. As you can see, the man, he's wearing this, and then he does the thing, boom, there, he's ready to attack, or whatever it is he's doing. That's the word that's being used here. He says, guard the loins of your mind. In other words, your thoughts have a tendency to be loose, but guard them up. Control them. Do you understand? Guard them up. Just like he's guarding up his dress so he can be able to do more or be more effective in what he's doing. So it says here, guard up the loins of your mind. Your mind can be like an octopus, reaching there. But it says tied up. Tied up, And so as we see here, it says, this is 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3. It says this. It says, wherefore guard up the loins of your mind. It says, be sober, hope to the end. Be sober, clarity. You know where you're going. You know what God has promised you. You know what you want out of life. Don't allow yourself to think thoughts that are contrary to what you want to experience. You wake up one day and you say, I feel defeated. I don't think I'm going to make it. You might think it's you thinking, but it may not be you. They say that thoughts are like birds. You can't prevent it from flying over. You cannot prevent it from flying over your head, but you can prevent it from building a nest on you. Someone who has a nest on their head has agreed with the bird. They fly. Thoughts are like that. They fly. Sometimes you think something negative, but the beauty is the power to control that thought and to put it into subjection, as you're about to see here. It says here, so prepare your minds for action and exercise self-control. Self-control is not just about what you eat, drink, all of that. It's also about the thoughts that you think, that you put barriers and say, no, that's too far. That's contrary to what I want to experience. I'm not going to think that. Okay? I'm not going to think that. So let's see how far we can go now. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, I'm just going quickly. Here. Oh, no. Yeah, there. You see there? 2 Corinthians 10:5. He says, what do you do then? Now that you know that, okay, I may not be able to control every thought that comes, but the Bible is asking me to guard up my mind. How do I do it? There's a verse here that says so clearly. It says we capture. It's so interesting. It says we capture every rebellious thought. Rebelling against who? Rebelling against who you are and who you want to be. Do you understand? There are thoughts that come to you that are contrary to you. I don't know if you understand. Do you guys, okay, am I the only one who thinks negative thoughts sometimes?
No.
Do you sometimes think thoughts that are against everything that you want and believe?
Yes.
What I'm trying to tell you then, so that we can go, is those thoughts are not your thoughts. Those are thoughts that you're supposed to manage. Do you understand? Yeah. Don't own them. Do you understand? Don't own them. So it says we capture every rebellious thought and teach the thought to obey Christ. So you take the thought and you say, this thought is not for me. Another one says we capture every thought and make it give up to Christ. So when you're talking about Christ consciousness, this is it. That you take a thought and you subject it to Christ. And you say, no, I'm not going to think that thought. Diligently guard up. Can you imagine running in a place with thorny bushes with a dress? It's going to be difficult. But that's what our thoughts are to us. So we need to guard them up. This is a deliberate effort. It's intentional. It just doesn't happen. You understand? So you need to know, I don't allow myself to think these thoughts. Okay? Don't flirt with thoughts that are dangerous for you and then assume that the outcome will be different. So far where you are is a result of the thoughts you've been thinking. So where you will be is also a result of the thoughts that you're thinking now. What I'm telling you is that you have power to choose the thoughts that you allow to develop. Do you understand? So it says in Philippians 4:8, we are finishing. It says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any value and if there's any praise, it says, think on those things. That you have the power to actually focus your mind on the things that are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report, of virtue. Do you understand? So don't just be like those people who say, oh, I can't control my mind. I can't. No. It says, think on these things. Make it an ambition that I'm not going to think what I don't want to experience. And if it comes, I will bring it down to subjection. I will make the thought give up. Many times the thoughts make us give up. And you're like, we're already here. Here we go again. But it says, make the thought give up. Make the thought surrender. You have power over the thought. Okay? Right, I think I'm going to skip over some things, but diligently guard over your thoughts. Let's go to the next one. The other thing, which is very precious to me, is learn to meditate on the goodness of God. Learn to look at life from a positive perspective. Learn to remember the good things that God has done for you. They will help you shift your focus from all the negativity. Do you understand? Do you understand what we're saying? In Psalms 143 verse 5, it says, I will remember the days of old. It says, I will meditate on all your works, and I will muse on the work of your hands. Learn to meditate on God's goodness. Learn to just sit by yourself and say, no, God, you've been so good to me. Thank you for helping me with school. Thank you for helping me with work. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for my health. As you are focusing your energy and your thoughts on the goodness of God, he says there will be no opportunity for these other thoughts to plant themselves in your mind. Do you understand? And listen, this thing is a decision. As I conclude, what time is it? Say conclude. I'm so sorry. But I felt it was important for us to discuss this. And next week, there's not going to be any of this. So, John 5, verse 6 to 7. Very interesting story of how we often interact with divinity as pertains to what we want. So Jesus meets a man by the well. He says when Jesus saw the man that he had been sick for such a long time, Jesus asked him the question, do you want to be well? Do you want to be well? It's a question. I'm asking you, do you want to be well? Yes. But listen to what the man says. The sick man answered and said, Sir, there is no one to help me get into the pool when the water starts moving. While I'm coming to the water, someone else says, see, that's what we do. God asks you a simple question. Do you want to be well? Do you want to be happy? Do you want... Yeah, so say yes. Don't start looking at, this is... When God offers to help, receive the help. Do you understand? Don't overanalyze. Don't try to read into things. Don't look far in the past and say because of this. No. Now, today is a different experience. Let me tell you, we might look the same, but every moment is unique. And that's why the Bible says in Hebrews 11:1, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. In other words, every moment is an opportunity for you to believe for the experience you want to have. Every moment. Don't just join things. Don't walk through life blind. Every moment is an opportunity. Stay open. Do you understand? Stay open. Allow the good thoughts to reside in you. Think on these things. And for all the negative ones, push them aside. I see Barry is coming. We're going to close here. But that was it for Think About It. And I hope you got a chance to think about how you think and proceed with the recommendations that we've given. Yeah.